Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week 24, I think it is this time around, as the double game weeks and blanks have taken shape a little bit more. It's a bit of a better shape this week, but we're going to get some more information during the week. We'll touch on that as well. It's general orders time, aka Mark. The FPL General. You're going to be revealing your thoughts and plans for the upcoming game week. My name is Joe. Mark, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Real life wise, I'm good. FPL wise, not so good.
No.
Hasn't been a great game week so far, which we'll touch on. But as long as everyone's good in real life, that's all that really matters.
Indeed. I'm very similar. I've got a very similar team set up with you, of which Garnacho is both first sub for both of us. And talking before on air that I'll be travelling down to Brentford tonight. Trying to start a fight with him, with Phil Foden, that is, so that Garnacho can come into my squad. But yeah, it's a ridiculous week. I mean, it's just been a ridiculous week where there's been so many high scorers. I mean, Kuna, for example, getting a hat-trick, Garnacho sitting on our benches with a brace. It's you can end up on the bad side of that, as we have, benching all those great points, and you can end up on the good side of it as well. But yeah, it's a tough week, and so a lot of people are going to have they're going to struggle a bit, sort of mental health wise, with their week so far. But we've still got Man City to go. We're recording this before Man City. You've got quite a few Man City to go.
Yeah, most importantly, Captain Haaland to go. So it's always you live in hope throughout a bad FPL game week when you still have your captain in the last game. So Haaland and Foden. So it's a very interesting Monday night fixture because it could be big swings. You know, a lot of people like myself will have that double up. Other people have De Bruyne, who's very highly owned now. People who held on to Julian Alvarez, and then you've got obviously Ivan Toney, Manchester City defenders who are have a decent amount of owners as well. So it's going to be a long Monday because the game week's already bad. It could turn out absolutely fine, or it could be disastrous. Yeah. So I just need that Manchester City game to play out to just know where we are going into Game Week 24.
Because Haaland is 100% effective ownership, which means a lot of his owners have captained him, but a lot haven't. So that means for yourself and myself have both got Haaland captaincy. We get all of those points, not all of the captaincy points. We will if it was a singular game week, we would get all of those points off him. So we do need Haaland to bang. I've got KDB as well as Foden. So I've got a hell of a lot riding on tonight. So I would imagine that Man City have been given a gilt-edged opportunity because of Liverpool being beaten by Arsenal. And that possibly doesn't open the door for Arsenal to win it. It opens the door for Man City to catch Liverpool and overtake them. So I don't know how much you think that's going to prey on Man City's mind. They're probably just going to want to win anyway, but they could narrow the gap here.
Yeah, I don't look at the Premier League table too often, but I had a look this morning. I think 2 games in hand for City. If they win both, they're top of the table. So obviously a big incentive. They can push on and take top spot in the very near future. So yeah, someone who captain Haaland and has Foden, I'm hopeful that will make a difference. But it's just Manchester City at the end of the day. You expect them to go out, perform well, dominate the game. It's just a matter of how many goals they get. I do probably fancy Brentford to get one in that one, probably Mr. Toney himself. Yeah. But again, hopeful because I don't have Manchester City defender, so I'm hoping that gets wiped out at some point. But yeah, looking forward to the game.
Yep.
But it will be a nervous watch.
Definitely. I had a dream last night. I woke up about 2 a.m. that literally in my dream, KDB scored 4 goals. I mean that's the first.
You sure you just weren't rewatching the Wolves game from a few years ago?
I was having a Wolves themed dream. That's the first time I've dreamt about FPL. I know that happens to a lot of people. I think you've mentioned it on your podcast before, where you've woke up and dreamt that your captain scored. But that's the first one I've had for a while.
I'm very surprised to hear that that's your first one because hardcore FPL managers, I think it's it's like anything in life. If you spend a lot of time on it during the day, especially I find if I'm looking at FPL just before bedtime, or you're scrolling on the phone in bed, which you shouldn't be doing. Very often I have dreams, and it's usually kind of outcomes. It's this player scored or this player blanks, or it's usually it's not a dream. It's usually a nightmare. It's usually the non-owned player goes big. So I'm surprised I didn't have a Kevin De Bruyne nightmare last night while you were having dreams about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a nightmare that I benched Garnacho. Woke up and sadly it was true. Okay, we did have some news over the weekend. We already know that Man City play Brentford, and Brentford both have a double game week, game week 25. The much mooted double game week for Liverpool and Luton transpired, and that will now take place. So it's probably a good chance to have a look at the season ticket here, which should be updated. There we go. So it's been updated with game week 25. So I've got game week 24 through to game week 30. I've sorted it by difficulties. That puts Brentford top, but they do have good fixtures, and they also have that double game week. Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Man City with that double game week and good fixtures around. Chelsea, Everton, Tottenham, Brighton and Burnley amongst those with less favourable fixtures. But it is intriguing that we now have that Liverpool-Luton game. So myself, I'm Liverpool-less. So I'm going to be focusing my transfers on Liverpool. I have 2 free transfers as well next week. So with Liverpool playing Burnley, that's a good opportunity for me. Others might think, well, this could be an opportunity to get a Luton differential as well. But obviously cementing that Liverpool place. But then game week 26, we got problems because Liverpool don't play, Luton don't play, Tottenham don't play, Chelsea don't play. And we've got the likes of, say, Porro, Richarlison, in my case, Alfie Doughty. We've got all these players that are doubling, and the Liverpool players as well. So, I mean, that's probably, when you look at the season ticket, is that probably your first thought at the moment, what you're doing with your transfers, how you're going to navigate 25 and 26?
Yeah, YouTube viewers, I'm holding up a little notepad. I was doing some scribbling this morning, so I'm very much old school.
Yep.
So I was basically just looking at give me 25, give me 26. How do I navigate it? So on the fixture ticker, Brentford are the top there, but I think there's a very good chance I'll end up with 0 Brentford players. Ivan Toney's the one I would like to own, but when you own Haaland, when Darwin's an option for 25, when Solanke's a good long-term hold, it might just be reluctantly going without the Brentford man and hopefully doesn't do too much. So I'm currently on 2 City players and 1 Liverpool. So I've got Trent, Foden and Haaland, and I've got 2 free transfers. And I do think I'm just going to play aggressively, attack 25, get as many City Liverpool players as I can, possibly even 3 from each by the time I get there. Yes, give me 26 will be a little bit tricky, but I don't have Richarlison, which makes it a little bit easier. I was having a look, even just using free transfers, if I don't pick up any injuries or suspensions in the meantime, I can get to 10 players, which sounds absolutely fine. Now, realistically, that might be 8 or 9 by the time we get there with, things will happen, things will go wrong. But I'm quite open to a -4 or a -8 in the blank game week anyway to get up to 10 or 11 picks. So the priority is very simple. It's probably focus on Liverpool more so this week because of the Burnley fixture. But we'll talk about my team later. I've got an Estupinan issue that I might want to improve on. And when I've got a Liverpool defender already, I might look towards a Manchester City defender for that spot. And I've got also Jared Bowen, who's been very, very disappointing. So, first of all, ridiculous that the double game week was announced at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. That wasn't ideal. A lot of people, who sleep through the deadlines in different time zones didn't get that. So, Premier League, sort it out for next time, please. Get it to us on Friday. But what it did, it put me in a position. I had 2 frees at the weekend just gone by as well. I was always going to get Haaland back for Alvarez. I was quite tempted then to do Bowen to Jota. I was on the fence, and I just came to the conclusion that Bowen versus Jota to me was quite a close call for Game Week 23, and I was quite happy just for another week of information and then most likely make that move for this week. So I think Bowen to Jota, for those who have Bowen and don't have the Liverpool man, will be a very popular move this week.
I mean, for me, and other people might be in this position as well, the only realistic way I can get to Jota or Salah, if he's back, is Saka. Saka has to go. But that's a tricky one, away to West Ham. Saka could do as much damage as Jota could do in Game Week 24. So it's a bit more tricky. But I think you're right. If you've got Bowen, I think that's probably an easy move to make. Jota on paper better, but what would your advice be to those like me and others as well who've got a player that they're much more reluctant to get rid of. In my case, Saka could be anyone, could be Richarlison for some. If their only route to getting a Liverpool midfielder is to remove a good player, what's your advice?
Yeah, I'm looking at Arsenal on the ticker. West Ham next. That's good. I think West Ham have been really poor recently. I've been watching them closely as a Bowen
Yep.
owner, and I can't wait to sell them. Then Forest, which is pretty decent, but then a blank. Sorry, not Forest. Burnley in
Burnley, yeah.
Game week 25, and then Newcastle after that
Mm,
as well. So it's a tricky one. Saka has been, he's rewarded those who've been faithful
mm,
to him, but that doesn't mean he's a must keep now.
mm.
And I feel like if I was on it in a position where if Saka was my only route to a double game weeker, I'd probably be keeping Saka
Yep.
24, 25, or 24 certainly, and then maybe you lose him for a double game weeker in 25.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but again, it's a
Fine.
tricky one because he's a good long-term hold as well.
Yes, he is. I mean, a Saka away to Burnley could do as much damage as Jota away to Brentford and at home to Luton, in which he may or may not get limited minutes in that Luton game because it's just before the cup final. And then there's a transfer gone for a player you might get the same for, you might not get much difference in. Saka could actually be better. And then, of course, what Saka has got going for him, and you could apply this to a whole number of midfielders that you don't want to get rid of. He actually plays in 26. Yes, it's at Newcastle, but it's at home against Newcastle. Newcastle's defence at home now. Luton put them to the sword at the weekend. So it's really tricky to navigate because whatever you invest in 25 is going to present problems in 26 along the way. We did this when we did this video last week. We were touched upon this sort of scenario, and someone in the live chat, I can't remember who it was. In the comments they put a really good idea. They said, had you considered a goalkeeper to Alisson, Dubravka to Alisson? And I thought about it. I thought, okay, I'll look into that. And the more I've thought about it, the more it's a really useful way of navigating these fixtures. Because as long as you've got a goalkeeper that plays in 26, you can play Alisson for the double. And we know what goalkeepers can do in a double game week. They're racking up those save points, could get at least one clean sheet. And Alexander-Arnold getting 58 minutes at the weekends. I know he's coming back from injury, but he's not coming back from like a Haaland injury or De Bruyne injury. He's just coming back from a couple of weeks out. It just makes me think maybe Alisson as well as Alexander-Arnold, or even Alisson instead of Alexander-Arnold. What do you think about Alisson as a way of unlocking this 25-26 conundrum?
Certainly a viable route. I've seen a few people mention it. Especially if it's this week as well, because you get the Burnley fixture for Alisson. He's got Forest in 27 as well, so you're not just getting him for the double. But I definitely think it's the Trent worries or concerns that are kind of driving these Alisson thoughts. I'm sitting on Trent. I've had him, I think, since the wild card and Game 20. So I think if you're on Trent, you have to write it out and hope for the best because there's fixtures, there's a double, it's Trent. You don't go moving him around at the moment. But it's certainly concerning also when Conor Bradley was, so impressive in recent performances as well. But I'm going to back Trent to get significant minutes. So obviously I've made my bed with him and I'll be staying there.
Okay.
The Alisson one for me, I don't think I'll be doubling up with Trent because I prefer the attackers. I like Jota a lot. I like Darwin a lot, even though he's been frustrating for other people. I might take my first ride on the Darwin roller coaster for the double game week. So Alisson definitely worth considering because if it gives you an extra, helps you get an extra player out in 26, it's certainly worth thinking about. Your other goalkeeper then.
Yeah, because for example, I don't have Alexander-Arnold, so for me it's decision, but it's kind of annoying. You have to make these decisions sort of coming up soon, but yes, not only the 25-26 issue of a player you get in might then blank 26. We've all got the likes of Porro, Palmer, Richarlison, these types of players, and they blank 26. So it is tricky to do. It's tricky to sort of marry those up and get the right sort of balance. And that was what was hurting my head at the weekend. And I think I posted something of that on social media, and the general consensus was that everyone's head hurt from trying to do that.
And even getting the pen and paper out this morning, it felt good. I felt clarity on I like a Manchester City defender, Jota, Darwin. there I go, triple Liverpool, triple City. But then you sit back, you look at it, right? What if Salah's back? What if De Bruyne
Yeah.
becomes a very attractive double game week pick? So, I need to be careful because whatever moves I make now, it's probably going to block off a couple of
Mm.
routes. Especially a Man City defender would
Okay.
block out De Bruyne. So
Well,
I need to decide what to do there.
well, I mean, our next question is about Salah, really. So we'll know by the end of this week with a press conference. So say Klopp comes back and says Salah is ready for minutes. He's doing well in training. He'll be back soon. And it looks like he's gonna be on the bench or at least in the reckoning for 24 somewhere. And then 25 racks up. So we're now faced with a Salah who could potentially get significant minutes. For me, that's where the likes of Saka, that yeah, they can go. Because Salah's special, as Haaland is special in FPL. But what would you do? I mean, say that scenario happens, Klopp indicates at 24 he's fine, and then 24 happens, and Salah actually does get some minutes as a sub. 25 comes along. What do you do in that situation?
Yeah, one of the other reasons I didn't go Bowen to Jota at the weekend was I did think to myself, what if this scenario presents itself where Salah makes a quicker than expected return? Then maybe I'll want to go for Salah over Jota.
Yeah.
So again, two free transfers, more information is what I leaned upon there, and thankfully, Jota didn't outscore Bowen in the most recent game week. So yeah, all eyes will be on Klopp's comments. We'll see if we get anything in 24 from Salah, if he's on the bench even, because if we arrived at game week 25 and there was any chance that Salah started both games, then I think my plans would change. It would either be, but then again, this is the hard part because I need to probably make the call on Bowen to Jota this week. So Bowen to Jota will probably happen regardless, but then I'll be in the same boat as you that Saka might have to be the
Yeah.
sacrificial lamb in 25 itself.
Yeah.
And if it means a fit Salah for a double game week, I won't mind losing Saka in
Yeah.
that scenario.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I thought as well. I wouldn't do it. There's not a lot of players I would do that for. But yeah, it is tricky. But this season ticket does show this is the tricky time of the season, trying to get that together. Another issue as well, Game Week 28. It's rumoured, a lot of those that guess fixtures, that 28 is the perfect fit for the postponed Bournemouth-Luton game, which would give Luton a very desirable double game week of Crystal Palace-Bournemouth, and indeed Bournemouth with a fixture. So apologies those on you're looking at the screen. There's a slight, you can see the Bournemouth flag. I've got a slight digits over it at the moment, but the Bournemouth flag, 28, yeah, Sheffield United and Luton. So these are great double game weeks. So that presents the option of going for Luton players as well and Bournemouth players. So what do we do with Solanke? So I was thinking, for example, Solanke to Darwin, and now I'm thinking, no, actually, I quite like to keep Solanke. I'm probably going to want him back. Would I get rid of Alfie Doughty? No. And am I thinking about Ross Barkley now? Yes. I mean, is that factoring into your thinking as well?
Yeah, again, going back to my scribbles this morning, part of it was Solanke to Darwin, game week 25.
Yeah.
Give me possibly two games of Darwin versus one game of Solanke. And yes, Solanke's a good long-term hold, but we've got free transfers, so I don't mind losing him and just getting him back.
Yeah.
If a Bournemouth double game week does get announced, he's probably the only Bournemouth player I'd be interested in anyway. So maybe just Darwin back to Solanke
Yeah.
at some point if it is game week 28. So I'm not going to let the possible double 28 for Solanke, hold me hostage to him because I do fancy Darwin for a double. So it's probably what Watkins might survive for me longer term. I am looking at Solanke out instead, but that's up for debate whenever the time comes.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
mentioned Luton as well.
yeah.
I've got Amari Bell, not much good to me really. He doesn't offer much. He's not an Alfie Doughty. I've got an Estupinan issue, which I talked about. A minutes concern and a difficult fixture this week, so I don't want to play him against Spurs. But I also don't need to sell him. What I'm looking at possibly is getting rid of Gusto instead. and benching Estupinan.
Okay.
So that's why I'm looking at maybe a Kyle Walker or a Nathan Ake.
Okay.
I could look at Alfie Doughty in that scenario,
Okay.
but Doughty doesn't help me for 26.
No.
So that factor is enough to push me towards maybe a City defender instead of Alfie Doughty. But I would love to own him for the double. But for my team, it might not be the right call. No. And I do like Barkley as a differential as well. Even if you take FPL out of it, I can't get over how good he's been for Luton this season. It was a really good signing.
Yep. Looking at that Solanke point is really good. Looking at the fixtures again, they got Newcastle in 25, which is on paper tough, and then Man City in Gameweek 26, and I think that's the clincher really. Do you know? And that steers me more towards Tony. Really, you got 3 fixtures, 3 rather than 2. And they're good. Better fixtures. Not great. I mean, you've got Liverpool, Man City himself, but then he's got West Ham in 26. And of course, I just feel with Tony, he can score against anyone. But as this week showed, anyone can score against anyone. Kuna gets a hat trick.
Just on this as well, everything's on the table. I'm keeping an open mind. If let's say I go Jota this week, then if I need to go Salah, that means no Darwin. And then that opens the door for Tony. Probably difficult to do all that financially, but it's everything's on the table at the moment. There's no set strategy.
You mentioned about possibly replacing Estupinan, but you've sort of moved on from that. But I've done a table, but the central theme remains: you're looking for a defender. So I've got an attacking defenders last 6 matches table, and I've got all age ranges. I've got all age ranges. I've got all price points. I meant to say. Alexander-Arnold there, and we got some cheaper ones as well, including Bradley at Liverpool is in the list. I've sorted this by minutes per expected goal involvement in their last 6 matches. So it's their goal involvement on the minutes they're actually there. So, for example, Bradley hasn't played much over his last 6, but nevertheless, hopefully this will give you some ideas, might give me some ideas, and hopefully, more importantly, it'll give all those watching and listening some ideas as well. So I'll go through the list briefly, and then you can give me your thoughts. Alexander-Arnold, absolute top in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement every 182 minutes. He's created 22 chances, taken 17 corners across his last 6 matches he's played. Bradley, not too shabby either. 3 shots inside the box, same as Alexander-Arnold. 3 assists and a goal, and he's created 5 chances, and his minutes per expected goal involvement is 185. He's basically Alexander-Arnold light. I mean, just sticking with these 2 first. I mean, with Bradley, he probably doesn't fit your criteria of security of minutes, but I understand he missed this particular game because of a family bereavement. So with Robertson coming on, with Gomez in the picture, Alexander-Arnold getting 58 minutes last night, it's not inconceivable that Bradley gets significant minutes in a double game week, is it?
Yeah, it's possible. Unfortunately, his father passed away last week. So we obviously send our thoughts to him and his family at this time. It's difficult, especially for such a young man to lose his dad so young. You've got Gomez, you've got Robertson, you've got Trent, you've got Bradley. It's as good as Bradley has been. I find it hard to give one of 3 Liverpool spots to him. Just when you have Trent, you mentioned Alisson, Jota, Darwin, Salah. I think he's down the pecking order in terms of the top 3 Liverpool picks to have for the double game week. Now, if someone is badly cash strapped and can't get to a Trent or something, you could gamble. You could gamble on even one start. But I just don't see it. I don't rate him very highly as an FPL pick because of the other options available. So for me, it's a no on Bradley.
My dogs are barking quite ferociously. I'm just going to open the door and let a dog out. Rightio. I'll let them bark somewhere else in the house now. So that's
getting bored of that. We're getting bored of the double game week chat.
Next name on this, I've got Trippier's here in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement. And the reason I put him in here, I've tried to focus mainly on double game week players for this list because I think that's where people will focus on. But Trippier's in there because he served a reminder. Even conceding 4 goals, he walks away with 9 points. And he's got Nottingham Forest and then Bournemouth, and then he plays in 26. He plays Arsenal, admittedly, but he plays. Then he's got Wolves, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, West Ham. He's the kind of player that I think he's only 25% owned in where I am in the rankings. So amongst engaged managers, I think it's probably similar. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we get blinded by the double game weeks, and Trippier's just sitting there racking up the points. So what do you think about getting him back, maybe?
Trippier and Richarlison in the same boat, scoring loads of points, but not many people are buying them for blank and double game week reasons. I was when Estupiñán got the halftime substitution 2 game weeks back, I was concerned straight away because I remember watching the highlights and there was one ball he gave away, led to a goal, and then hooked at halftime. So I knew there was a big risk with him.
Yeah.
And Estupiñán to Trippier definitely crossed my mind last week. But again, I was always going to favour rolling the extra transfer for Liverpool reasons and stuff like that. Obviously, hindsight, wish I did that. But it's a funny one because I wasn't watching the Newcastle game, but I was following it on the radio, and you're thinking assist straight away, right? This is going to be a big haul. It's going to be a clean sheet. It's going to be bonus points.
Yeah.
And then gradually the points start reducing down to about 3 with all the goals conceded. And then he scores, and to be honest, I let out a few swear words in the kitchen because when's the last time he scored for a start? And then when you're close to buying a player, but he concedes 4, you're thinking, right, glad I didn't buy him now. And then he sticks one in the back of the net. So it was a roller coaster listen on, I think it was on BBC 5 Live. So yeah, Trippier, feel like maybe I missed the boat not doing it last week. That doesn't mean I couldn't go there this week, but priorities have probably shifted now towards Liverpool and Man City players.
Next name on the list is Robertson. Probably same rationale behind not going for Bradley. You've got Alexander-Arnold already. You don't want to be locked out getting Jota or Salah or Darwin. But Robertson there. Just a tiny reminder, though, he is 2 million cheaper than Alexander-Arnold. He has created 15 chances in his last 6 matches he's played, and he's had 13 corners. He's no Alexander-Arnold, but he's close. But it's just a minute's risk at the moment that we can see. So probably the same rationale there. But the next name
still not up to full speed, Robertson, I don't think. So it just feels a bit an unnecessary risk when we've got other options to go for.
Next name on this is Walker, controversial in the FPL community recently. His minutes per expected goal involvement very limited, 364 minutes there. But he has created 3 chances. He's the guy that you think is going to start most matches as long as he's not on the naughty step, which I don't think he is anymore. Because a player of his seniority to be on the naughty step that long would be he's not like a young early 20s Phil Foden who can be on the naughty step for a month. But I mean, are you tempted by Walker, or is there still doubt, do you think? I'm assuming no one's been leaking to you, by the way.
No, I'm not part of any secret WhatsApp groups. I learned my lesson a long time ago about leaks. I got in a lot of trouble a couple of years ago, so I avoid all that stuff. Now, if I get something, I just ignore it. Much easier and less stressful that way.
Much easier.
Kyle Walker, like I said, I want to improve the Estupiñán position by benching Estupiñán. I just makes sense to keep Estupiñán because he has a game in 26, so I may as well keep him. I don't think it'll impact me too much financially to sell Gusto instead. So I am very much looking at Manchester City as a first stop. Now, the issue is, yes, Walker, some of the off-field stuff, could that impact his minutes? Possibly. The other issue is Manchester City seemingly always find a way to concede. And I'm looking at Ake as well at 0.5 less, maybe even a Gvardiol. But the biggest issue is if I'm buying a Manchester City defender, they have to start every game that I need them for. And it's really, really hard to nail that down. Ake and Walker probably have the best chance of that. And I'll probably canvass some opinion from some other Manchester City in the nose, or maybe try and infiltrate the old WhatsApp group before the game week to help me with which one to go for. But yeah, they just work because I'd like to have an extra defender in 26 as well. For example, if I go Doughty, doesn't have a 26, so a player less. So yeah, it's tricky. But I think it's going to be between Walker and Ake. And what it might come down to is finances. If it makes it easier to get, Jotas, Darwins, maybe Salahs, then I'll probably go Ake, save the money, hope there's a goal. Centre backs have a history of doing okay in double game weeks, John Stones and the like. So I'm leaning towards Ake just for budget reasons and maybe a bit more attacking potential because Walker bombs up and down the wing, but I think it is only 2 assists
Yeah.
this season. So
Yeah. Next name on the list is sort of in the same category as Trippier. No double game week currently, but it's Moreno at Villa, and I sort of started compiling this table before his goal as well. But I just thought he was at the moment a very good option for Villa. And Villa have such great fixtures: Manchester United, Fulham. They play in 26. Nottingham Forest. It's a great fixture. 26. Then the Luton in 27, Tottenham, West Ham, Wolves. These are good fixtures for potential clean sheets in some of them, but certainly attacking returns. He has created 7 chances. I mean, in his minutes per baseline bonus, I've included minutes per baseline bonus as well. All of these are under 10 as well, which essentially means the baseline bonus system. This is it means that they can rack up the points for just the jobbing stuff they do, the passing, the tackling, that type of thing. So Moreno's in that sort of bracket that he could get bonus, especially if he gets a clean sheet as well. Moreno. He's one for the. Let's ignore the double game week and just get good defenders from good teams.
yeah, a bit like Trippier. Playing very well at the moment in the absence of Luka Dean. I think I recall him having a goal ruled out recently as well, so it could have been 2 goals in his last 2 or 3 games. Always liked him. I think we always Luka Dean was having a very good season, but we were always fearful of Moreno coming back for competition. Yeah. And I still feel the same way when I look at Moreno. I think Luka Dean will be back at some point. If I'm buying Moreno, I probably want him to definitely play in 26. Is Luka Dean back by then? Is there some doubt? So I still favour maybe a Konsa when it comes to Villa, although he did go off before 60 minutes in the big win. But I don't think that was injury related. I didn't see anything in relation to that. So I still slightly prefer Konsa over Moreno, but maybe a more adventurous manager than myself would go Moreno over Konsa. And if he keeps his place, there's plenty of points potential there at both ends of the pitch.
Yep, 14-point haul in game week 23 for him. Next name is Reguilon at Brentford. I've also got Pinnock in the list as well. They have a double game week, and it's a tough one. But nevertheless, we've seen defenders do well in double game weeks. They both got the potential of attacking returns, very limited, but could do. But they've also played 26, and they play straight through. They're just a sort of set and forget, nice defender, cheap defender you can have there. And I'd go for Brentford. Are you interested in a Brentford defender in any way? No.
No interest whatsoever.
Nope.
I'm laughing here because every time I see Reguilon in a table, he plays for a different team.
He's
certainly a journeyman over the last year or two. But no, it's just fixtures. I like Ivan Toney for Brentford stubble, but apart from that, they haven't been good defensively in recent times. And just fixtures.
Okay. Next name is my man Alfie Doughty. I've benched him this week, so I missed out on 2 points because his replacement got 1 point in the 11. So it's not too bad. But that I count myself lucky because he's getting returns every week. I'm getting some of them. I'm benching some of them. But Luton 4.5. You were saying every time you look at a Newcastle game, you see who got the assist for Newcastle. Every time Luton get a goal, who got the assist? Chances are it's Alfie Doughty. 4 assists in his last 6 matches. 32 corners. And he's nailed on. He created 10 chances, 4 shots inside the box as well, and he has got a goal over this period as well. Can I sell Alfie Doughty to you?
You've been trying to do it for weeks, and
one day
he's not there yet. It's annoying me because it feels like I'm going to get to the end of the season and be like, he was one of the most fun players in FPL this season, and I never owned him. For various reasons, team dependent, fixtures, all that kind of stuff. I've got my wife was born in Luton. My FPL selected team on the website this season is Luton, so I really should have him in my team. And he just looks so good. Open play, corners, everything. He's a focal point of their attack, and so much goes through him. But again, I'm not going to rule out going there instead of a Manchester City defender if I just can't settle on which one to go for. He's probably next in line if I decide to keep the door open for De Bruyne, for example. So he's just behind the City guys for me.
Yeah, and that's why, I put him on the list there, not just because I bizarrely obsessed with him, but it's just cheap. It's 4.5, so that does enable Salah, Devin De Bruyne, perhaps more realistically Devin De Bruyne. But yeah, next name on this is Gvardiol, 4.8 as well, cheap. Ake is the one you're interested in, but worth knowing that Gvardiol has had 6 shots inside the box his last 6 matches, and created 3 chances. So not great stats, but okay for a defender. But yeah, Ake is the one for you if you go there.
Yeah, it's impossible to read what Pep does. And like I said, I'll talk to a few people who watch him more closely in terms of his team selections to get their opinions on this. But Gvardiol's got a lot of starts recently, but I always think there's always a chance that he drops out for a game, which has happened quite a few times. Ake just feels like Pep's almost his number one centre back, in recent times. So he feels secure. That doesn't mean he'll definitely start both games in the double, but that's where I'm leaning, just for hopefully security of starts and just saving a few pennies on Walker.
Yeah. I've got another table for you as well. This is much more focused on double game week players, double game week 25 players, that is, and it's just forwards and midfielders. So we've chatted about the defenders as well, and I've done it by the teams. So I've sort of got the best 3 for each, unless they were just like really far behind in terms of their minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty. So I've got Manchester City players, 3 players there, 3 Luton players, 3 Liverpool, and just two Brentford really at the moment because Mbomo's not around. So I'll go through them. A lot will be, obviously this is going to be team dependent for those listening and watching. You will know in your team what budget you've got to get players in, but it's more looking to see what Mark might be considering. De Bruyne not in your team at the moment. In terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalties, last 6 matches he's only played a little bit, so this is the minutes he's played during that time, but he has got a goal, he got 2 assists already. I think he's only played a match and a bit, or perhaps 90 minutes in total, isn't it? Created 5 chances. He's got 20 FPL points over that period. 10.8 million. I still think that's quite cheap for what he is. Can you see yourself getting him in for the double game week?
That's a big decision that I need to make the call this week because I've already got Foden and Haaland. So if I commit to a Nathan Ake, for example, I'm closing the door there. Obviously, could go Foden to De Bruyne, but don't really see myself making that sideways move unless there was a Foden injury or something like that. Yeah. So I kind of made peace a couple of weeks ago that I may never own De Bruyne this season because his price point is tricky. And if you want to get Salah back at some point, maybe Heung-Min Son at some point as well, it's hard to have all of these players. And I'm probably just going to bank on maybe his minutes being limited longer term, even if that means 70 instead of 90. And I know 70 is all he needs, and he could really, really hurt me. But there's quite a few players that could hurt, and I just think with Man City picks, Liverpool picks, you can just commit to 3 and just hope for the best. Yeah. It's probably easier to commit to 3 Liverpool because maybe they're more obvious. Yeah. Whereas City, there's quite a spread because I sold Alvarez and he could still perform very, very, very well over the next couple of weeks. I don't have De Bruyne, and even Bernardo Silva has been performing well this season as well. So it's not straightforward, but team dependent. I think who's more likely to come into my team soon, De Bruyne or Salah? It's probably Salah. And I'm never going to be able to afford both with my current setup. So for that reason, I'm leaning towards a City defender instead.
I have included Alvarez as well. And those watching, I've highlighted in blue the top player in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty for each of those teams I've selected here, which is why Haaland is top. There's probably not much need to dwell on him because we know what he's about. He's gone up in price overnight. I think he's 14.2 now. Somehow he's had 3 goals in his last 6 matches he's played, and 3 assists, and created 5 chances as well. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 99 minutes. So that's getting towards a goal involvement a match. So we all know about him. That's probably why he's in your squad now. He's just simply the one of the best assets in the game at the moment.
Yeah. And as long as he comes through these two games, he's probably triple captain material 25 as well. I think
Yeah.
that's very likely for me.
Yeah, yeah, same here. I'm thinking that. Alvarez, though, minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 107 minutes, so pretty good still. 4 goals from his 6 starts and an assist as well. You've got Alvarez. You've got no. You've got Alvarez and Haaland.
Went from Alvarez to Haaland for
Right, that's
for
it.
for this game.
Because I have seen other teams consider getting both in a sort of hedging your bets way, but Alvarez could have significant minutes somewhere. Was that ever a consideration to have both, or was it always it's got to be Haaland or Alvarez?
It was it was on the table for sure because I've had Alvarez for a long time, big fan. Yes, he was frustrating for large parts, but then he got me the brace as a
Yeah,
captain, so it was really hard to let him go then. But it was kind of a case of if I kept him and got Haaland, I probably would have sold Watkins, so I would have straight away been 18 points down
yeah,
on Watkins. But again, it was a Kevin De Bruyne factor because if I went Haaland, Alvarez, Foden, I was closing the door very
right,
early on De
okay,
Bruyne, which
got
I
it.
didn't want to do. So that's why I reluctantly sold Alvarez after the brace, and I'm just hoping that pays off longer term.
Okay. Next team's Luton. In the double game week, they've got Manchester United at home. That's a good fixture at home. And they've Liverpool away, but that could be a weakened Liverpool ahead of that cup final. There's rumoured that they could have in 28 a double game week of Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. So Luton very much on the agenda. The top one in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalties, no surprise at Adebayo. 6 starts, 5 goals, not bad. 4.8 million. I mean, he's the one. Someone who got him in their FPL team would have won the lottery a little while ago because he has just been absolutely magnificent in his last 6 matches. No assists, so he's just the goals guy. Next up is Ogbene. 145 minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty. He has got a goal and he's got an assist and he's 4.9. And then Barkley as well with 36 points, FPL points, 6 starts, couple of goals, 3 assists. He's your all-round guy for 4.9 million. There's a lot of options there, and we've already mentioned Alfie Doughty as well. The options are racking up and their cut price. I mean, these look absolutely ideal if you need an enabler.
Yeah, and that's the key word, I think, enabler. If if Luton didn't have the blank in 26, I'd be all over it because they're performing very well and they're scoring plenty of goals. Someone like an Adebayo at
Yeah.
4.8. If that means, for example, I'm not suggesting people should sell Watkins, but as an example, you go Watkins to Adebayo, there's 3 or 4 million straight away. That's your De Bruyne, your Salah, your Son,
Yeah.
or whoever, or maybe Trent if you really want them for the double. So if you're in a scenario where an Adebayo or a Barkley works structure wise for your team to enable something else, and you can still get through 26 okay, or maybe you want a free hit in 26, then these Luton guys are absolutely fine to go for.
Yeah. Next up, Liverpool. I mean, these are obviously familiar names. Darwin Núñez is top for minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty. I think he had 11 shots and without a goal in not this last game. His last game, but one was for last start in the Premier League. That is 28 points. FPL points last 6 matches, 3 goals, a couple of assists. I mean, it's a glass half full kind of scenario with him, in that you either get frustrated with all the missed shots, or you think there's so many shots that some are going to go in, and that's the situation I have with Darwin Núñez. Owned him for 2 or 3 weeks, hated it. I'm not sure I'll go back there, but I can't ignore the fact he's getting points, and he is the best on paper. Salah, 105 minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty. We know all about him. And Diego Jota, 173 minutes. So he's a bit far behind, but he's more clinical, really. And he has got 49 points. He's got the most out of any of these 3 Liverpool attacking assets there. I haven't put Gakpo in, or Diaz. They're far behind as well. But yeah, 5 goals from Diego Jota and 3 assists in his last 6 matches. I mean, that's huge. Yeah, what does this tell you? I mean, you'd like them all, perhaps?
Yeah, it's interesting that you said you were on Darwin for a while, frustrating, and you might not go back there because as someone who's never owned him, I don't know, definitely not this season, maybe never before.
Mm.
I watched the 11 shot game,
Yeah.
hits the woodwork 4 times, and I know the owners are pulling their hair out, but I'm thinking I need this guy soon,
Yeah.
or I want this guy
Yeah.
soon, especially when he's got a double game week. So I'm definitely glass half full,
Mm.
probably 3/4 full, but it's much easier when
Yeah.
you've never owned him before.
Yeah.
Because again, that makes me think of a Richarlison, because I've had Richarlison many times in
Mm.
previous seasons, and it's been very frustrating. And that's definitely played a small part of me not buying him a
Mm.
couple of weeks ago. I went Foden instead,
Yeah.
and obviously the fixtures played a part there as well. But I definitely regret not getting
Mm.
Richarlison at that
Yeah.
time with a bit of hindsight as well. But Darwin, Darwin and Jota, very high on my list. And if I get both, which is very likely, it means no Salah.
Yeah.
But I also feel like if you've got Trent, Jota, and Darwin in a Liverpool team, you can probably survive without Salah.
Mm.
If as long as those two other
Yeah.
attackers perform well and Saka doesn't absolutely destroy teams, it could shake out quite
Mm.
evenly. So I feel like if I've got Jota and Darwin and they get enough minutes, even if Salah's fit, I will be confident that I can match Salah owners or even outscore them. So I'm not going to lose any sleep about no Salah, not until the double at least.
Yeah. I mean, that's my thinking with Salah as well. I mean, if he's back, there's lots of ifs and buts with these players, but I think it just shows this the level of points, particularly with Jota and Salah, in terms of how many points they're getting their last 6 matches. So Salah, the last 6 matches he's played, 45 points. Jota 49 points. I mean, Jota looks the one to get really there, even though Nunes is the XG guy, but he's also the woodwork guy. Two players at Brentford. I almost said just call them Tony. Two players at Tonyford. So I put Tony in, but I've also put Neil Maupay in. Just cheeky. So an ex. Right, yes, exactly. He's absolutely wonderful at that type of thing. With Maddison taking the Mickey out of Maddison's goal celebration, and then when Maddison comes back at him, he then takes the Mickey out of Maddison's relegation record, which is worse than his. Neil Maupay, I don't think anyone's going to go there, but I'll just have some kind of smug points in 2 weeks' time when he gets he's the highest scorer in the double game week, 4.9 million. Playing well at the moment with Tony, 4 starts, 2 goals and an assist. But it's Tony's the one, isn't it? 8.1 million minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 113 minutes. That's very good. That's getting towards the sort of Liverpool, Man City type standard for, even though it's a sort of a lesser team. 18 FPL points since he's been back. 2 goals and an assist. I look at Tony and I think I want this guy in my team.
Yeah, Tony's just very, very good. That's the short
Yeah.
answer. Ideally, I would like to get there as well,
Yeah.
but I feel like I'm going to probably prioritize Darwin
Yeah.
over him. And Tony, fixture wise, it could be better, but he also, on the plus side, he has that guaranteed fixture in 29. But again,
Yeah.
when I was looking through my very early scribbles today, very good chance I free hit in 29 anyway. So I feel like I don't need to get Tony necessarily for that reason.
Yeah.
So the only way I'll end up there, I think, is if I get Salah and Jota, or just Salah and no Jota, because
Yeah.
it's Darwin or Tony, I think, in my front
Yeah.
line. And again, on Neil Maupay, if we're talking about Adebayo at 4.8, if you're definitely not going to get Tony, just throw Maupay in as a
Yeah.
very similar asset at 4.9. If it enables something else, then a double game week's a double game week, 2 bites of the cherry. And Maupay, career-wise, has been a goal scorer, and he's finding a bit of form again, back at Brentford. So don't rule him out, but get Tony if you can, and only get Maupay if it's enabling something else.
Yeah. And I think this week shows, with all the goal scorers, just how much choice we have. Let's move on to your bus team. So we are recording this ahead of the Man City game tonight. So this is your current thinking for 24. Do you want to go through your team and the sort of decisions that you're facing?
Yeah, I'll just read through it first of all for the audio. David Raya, Pedro Porro, Trent, and Estupinan, Foden, Jared Bowen, Saka, Palmer, Haaland with the armband, Watkins and Solanke, and Garnacho probably first sub again, even though what he just did to
Yeah.
myself and Joe. Two free transfers. I think I can't remember. There's about 2 million in the bank, maybe 1.8, because I splashed it on Haaland last game week. If I take the very simple approach here, which most people watching or listening will tell me to do, Bowen to Jota, and I think most people will be fairly keen on my idea of Gusto to a City defender
Mm.
and then start that defender and bench a Stupinan
Mm.
away to Tottenham. And then a Stupinan is in place for when I need him
Yep.
in the blank. So to me, that sounds pretty good. And then, you look one week ahead, it's probably Solanke to Darwin. And even 26, very early thoughts. But after the double game week's over, Jota could go to someone like a Neto at Wolves, who I think has Sheffield United in 26, possibly. A good
Yes.
fixture and just having a very good season. So,
Yeah, I mean, Wolves have got a lot of good home games. They've got Brentford coming up already in 24, and then Tottenham. And the Wolves have got Sheffield United, as you said, in 26. Newcastle away. But then they've got Fulham at home, Bournemouth at home after that. So, yeah, Neto, I mean, even in the on-paper tougher fixtures, he's getting good returns. So, yeah, I mean, he's a player. I hope I have Neto in my team at some point.
yeah, it's the
Because,
same as Doughty.
yeah,
I want to own both players at some point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Neto, when we did myself and Tom do the goals imminent video, pretty much early on there, we were on Neto because the underlying stats were huge, and he kept getting those assists. And so, he's a bit of a poster boy for our video there. So I really would like to get him into the team because, yeah, I mean, absolutely huge assists. Exactly like Trippier with Newcastle. If you see Wolves have got a goal, who got the assist? It's going to be Neto.
Yeah, I think he's on 2 goals, 10 assists. But
Amazing.
to me, thinking back on the season, he could easily have 5 or 6 goals. I know he's injured for a large
Yeah.
chunk, but he gets plenty of chances as well.
Yeah.
Not that he gets them, he creates them for himself. He's
Okay.
he's just such a good player. And yeah, one of those where I hope at some point soon I will own him. So I'm kind of earmarking him as an early possible transfer. Give me 26.
Okay, and just finally with your team, you got the captaincy on Haaland. It is right, okay. The pros and cons there. Pros, it's Haaland, and pros, it's against Everton and it's at home. But the cons are it's the early kickoff, so you got the psychological challenge of that, and the other one is Liverpool's game against Burnley an actual better fixture for the captaincy if you get a Liverpool attacker.
Yeah, good point. I hadn't really thought about that because there's no Liverpool attacker in my team yet. So let's say Jota goes in there for Bowen, then Jota's going to be in the conversation for the armband. But if Haaland starts on the Monday night that we're the day of recording and he comes through that fine fitness wise, I do not see myself going anywhere else than Haaland for Everton. The other pro of it being the first kickoff, more chance of team news before deadline. So
Yeah.
if it comes through that he's going to start, very easy captain.
Yep, definitely. I mean, both you and I have got challenges, and so's everyone at the moment. We're looking at other people getting hat tricks into their teams, and it's eroding our rank each week. But at the same time, we can live in hope. We've got all good players. I mean, I look at this team for 24, and I just think, wow, that's going to screen points. But I thought that about my team this week. So best laid plans and all that. I hope I'll certainly be joining you with in Garnacho's points on the bench next week. Really enjoying that prospect again. Yeah, before we go, anything else you wanted to add for as we go into Game Week 24?
No, I just think it's important to remember if you're watching this video or listening early in the week, we have the FA Cup replay, Villa Chelsea this Wednesday. So that will have an impact on 29. So if you can, this stage of the season, be as patient as possible with your transfers. I'm going to keep a close eye on things price wise because those plans I made of Jota, Darwin, City defender, I've only got maybe 0.1 or 0.2. So I need to be careful. And I might be forced into an early Bowen Jota move, for example. So I'm going to keep a close eye on that Monday night and Tuesday night to see if I need to move early. I don't like moving early, but but sometimes you need to keep a plan in place.
Indeed. Excellent. Well, good luck with your game week. Good luck everyone watching and listening. Do remember to press that like button, and do remember to subscribe as well, so you can keep update with our latest videos and podcasts. And do check out fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for all the latest members offers as well. Take care. Good luck with the game week. Mark, see you soon.
Here's all.